I was in the car the other day chatting with my wife, and we're very different people. Like, are you married to someone who's very different from you? Like, Sarah is very much an introvert, and I am an extrovert, right? So I get energy from being around people, and she gets energy from being by herself. Now, a lot of my clients are introverts. In fact, I get questions a lot from people going, "Oh, Colin, will these strategies work for introverts?" And literally, some of my most successful students, and I believe what I've seen, some of the best communicators and speakers in the world are introverts. But here's the thing: is when it comes to connecting with people, like at a networking event, at any sort of event, knowing how to quickly build rapport, to build trust with people in a really authentic way is a superpower that I've had for most of my life. And you might say, "Oh, that's nice, Colin." But it's definitely something that I have worked on, I've developed, I've gotten good at, and have found out what the edges of this looks like and how to do it in a way that's truly authentic and you, etc. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, one thing for me is being able to uh, you know, go to events, especially in-person events, truly change my life. And I am hosting an in-person event very soon. In fact, coming up, we are hosting our Sell From Stage live event. This is literally I believe, going to be the most transformational event you've been to when it comes to speaking and selling your services and your products. We're going to spend 2 days together in Southern California. I've already booked the event. It's coming up September 18th and 19th. And but you have to be a member of Sell From Stage to come along. And so if you're interested in coming along, there's a link in the show notes, and that'll take you straight through. You can actually buy a ticket to come along to the event. You'll get access to our program. You'll get access to the event, so you can do some prep work coming into it. And then the event is going to be phenomenal. So 2 days, workshop style, highly transformational, lots of practice, storytelling, workshopping, um, building your message, how to get presentations, how to build an audience. We're going to cover all of these things. My goal is for you to walk away and feel confident, clear, and ready to stand on any stage and deliver a powerful conversion message. And so Sell From Stage Live, it's going to be phenomenal. It's our main event for the whole year. If you want to come and hang out with me in person, it's pretty much, it is the only event that you can come to. And if you want to fly in, we've got people flying in from Australia, from Europe, from all around America, from Canada. It'll be well worth it. And I just know, coming out of that old dirty word COVID, people have been craving more and more in-person events. And so we wanted to host one. We've got a few spots left. It's not going to be a massive event. It's going to be a workshop style event, and it's going to truly change your life. And I think the investment, you're going to get like 10x. That's my goal. 10x return on the investment. I think a lot more. And so if you want to check that out, the link is in the show notes, and you can get yourself registered. And I hope to see you there. And if you end up signing up to the live event for Sell From Stage Live, send me a DM in Instagram and let me know that you joined through the podcast, because I'd love to connect with you. Hey, it's Colin, and you are listening to the Expert Edge podcast. I was a professional speaker for over a decade, and now I focus on helping coaches, speakers, and course creators to speak and sell on virtual and live stages. The Expert Edge podcast is weekly content focused on helping you build your expert business. We cover marketing, storytelling, sales, communication skills, and so much more. Thanks for taking the time to tune in, and make sure you subscribe and follow us on all our social channels so you don't miss a thing. Let's listen to today's episode. So let's have a conversation about how you can talk to anyone with confidence. Maybe you have a networking event coming up, or just an event that you're attending. There could be, maybe you've bought yourself to go to a workshop or a conference, and you're heading into that conference. You know you want to go, but there is some fear, there is some hesitation, there is some resistances within you that are going off as like trigger points to go, hang on, this is going to be scary. No one's going to know you. All that sort of good stuff, right? Or bad stuff. So I want to help you today to have some mindset and some really tactical ways to talk to people, to just actually have a conversation with people. And I'm going to share with you some mental models that I use and how you can grow in your confidence when it comes to this. Because I will say that your ability to make connections in programs you're in, at events you're attending, at experiences that you're having, your ability to make connections will have a significant impact on the success of your life. I'll tell you what, as a coach and expert, only 50% of your success is knowing the right strategies. The other 50% is knowing the right people. It's knowing the right connections. And learning this skill is such an important skill. Like I said, I've never actually covered this skill before. And my wife and I were having a conversation about the Expert Edge podcast. And we were thinking, what would be a good thing to talk about and to have, etc. And we thought we'd talk about how to actually just talk to people. Now, here's some of the reasons why I think we get hesitant in this area. First of all, we have this fear of rejection, right? That's nothing new, but we all have this fear of rejection. We have this fear of being judged, this fear that, that we just simply feel like someone's going to reject us. Now, have you ever been to a networking event where someone has literally said to you, I am rejecting you? You haven't, right? And there might be one person, but I really doubt it. No one's ever said to you, I reject you. I do not want to talk to you. Like that's like very rare unless you're maybe on, the Real Housewives of Orange County or something like that. They might say something like that. But for normal people, that's not a conversation that happens in their life. And so where is that rejection coming from? I want you to first of all have a think about it. Where is that rejection coming from? Is it actually from people saying, I don't want to hang out with you at the event? Like I'm talking about strangers now. I'm not talking about friends you've been with forever. I'm talking about strangers at a networking event, at a workshop you're attending, at a program you're going to. Have you ever had a stranger literally say, I do not want to hang out with you anymore? Now, I get it. There might be one or two who are listening. But I want you to realize this is that you don't have to connect with everyone. So first of all, I want you to take off the pressure that you have to be best friends with everyone. Like take that pressure off yourself. Forget trying to be best friends with everyone and just realize that there are going to be probably more than 50% of the people that you meet, probably 70%, I would say, where you don't really have a massive resonance with them, a massive connection. And then there's going to be, a 30% of you really relate to them, you connect with them, and you would love to keep having a conversation. And so, first of all, take off that pressure. But I want you to realize that this idea of like being rejected by people is usually coming from your own brain. You are the one creating the meaning that you were being rejected. Like, I don't know, have you ever had it comes down to sales as well. Like when people make an offer and people say no, they take it as rejection. Then, first of all, they're not rejecting you. They're just saying that offer, I didn't see the value in that offer based on my desires, my preferences, right? And that's a different conversation that we have in our programs and on the podcast. But I want you to realize that most of this rejection, I would say 99.9% of it is coming from yourself. When I first started life coaching, I remember I was learning this pattern of how people would say something like, oh, I'm getting so rejected and this, that's just happening all the time. And then you say something like, and who specifically said that? And then they're going in their mind, they're like, who specifically? And they usually go, well, I can't really think of anyone specifically who said that. And then you'll follow up with a question like, so who is saying it to who? And then they go, me? It's like, yes, that's right. Right. You're saying it to yourself. And so first of all, you are the one having this poor quality conversation with yourself. It's actually not the other people. So and take off the pressure of trying to be friends with everyone. You don't have to be friends with everyone. If you're friends with everyone, you end up being a chameleon, and that's actually not an attractive thing anyway, right? So don't even worry about that. The second reason is we all have this fear of not belonging, right? We have this innate fear of not belonging, not being a part of the tribe. And because of that fear, we have this deep desire to want to be accepted. Now, an easy way to manage this is to bring a buddy, right? If you ever go to a program, I know even for me, and I would consider myself quite good at networking now, I will think about like, who could I take with me? Like, who's a buddy that I could take with me? And that really helps with that fear of belonging. Or you think about, is there one person that you know at this event? And if there isn't one person, that's totally fine. But I want you to know that it's normal to have a fear of not belonging. Like, that is a normal thing that you as a human being have. If you have that fear, it just means you're a human being, all right? There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. That is part of the conversation. And number 3, and this is a big one, the fear of not looking successful or being interesting. That's a fascinating one. So it's this fear of like not being successful enough. It's so funny. Like, if you've ever gone to a school reunion and you go there and you find out, Jenny, she was like crazy. And then all of a sudden she's become really successful. And then like Johnny he seemed like he was really popular. And then now he's like got no job, and he's just smoking weed every day, and he's kind of like gone to nothing. And it's so funny seeing people's experiences, but that is just naturally true, right? It's like we want to feel like when people see us, they see us as being successful or interesting or fascinating or something like that. And so we're going to talk about that today. But these 3 things are usually the resistances that stop us networking well. The fear of being rejected, and you're rejecting yourself. Let's be honest. It's not them rejecting you. Just because they walk away from the conversation after they talk for 3 or 4 minutes with you doesn't mean that you've been rejected. Just because when they talk to you and then look away over your shoulder doesn't mean you are rejected. That just means they are usually not a well-versed conversationalist. And you're going to learn this today. And so the fear of rejection, the fear of not belonging, and the fear of not looking successful or being interesting. And so these are the fears. If you have them, it's normal, welcome. That's part of being the human. That's the human experience. And so let's talk about what are some ways that you can network better and become more confident during this process. Number 1, prepare your mind. As you go into it, rather than thinking about how uncomfortable you're going to be, who's not going to talk to you, how much of a loner you're going to feel like, ask yourself a question like, I wonder who I'll meet today. I'm really interested to see what sort of people turn up to this event. I'm fascinated to find out if there's some people that I connect with at this event. Like, ask yourself some questions where it's first of all focused on others and increase your curiosity. One of the strategies I use, and I learned this as a coach when my initial coach training, was whenever you get stuck in a conversation, you need to lean in to curiosity. So saying something like, tell me more about that. Or how did that come about? So tell me more about that again, right? And you just go back to it. You lean into it. You ask a question about it. As soon as you lean into curiosity, it makes you a good conversationalist. And so preparing your mind is asking better questions coming into it. Now, I will say that I have learned some beliefs, and sometimes my wife kind of jokes with me and she says, Colin, I wish I was in your mind coming into some of these events. But these are some beliefs that I have reinforced and gathered evidence for over the years. And if you don't have these beliefs yet, I give you full permission to take them on, to try them out, almost like put them on like a sweater, try it on, see how it feels and how you experience them as you go into an event. So one belief I have is that I have a belief that people are going to enjoy having a conversation with me. I actually have that belief. I have a belief that people are going to enjoy having a conversation with me. Now, notice I didn't say people are going to enjoy me speaking to them. This is the context of networking conversation. I literally have a belief they're going to really enjoy having a conversation with me. Not because I'm an interesting person, but just because it's going to be a good conversation, right? So that's one of my first beliefs. Another belief is um, I have another belief is that I believe people are going to like me. It sounds so funny when I say it, but I genuinely believe that people are going to like me, right? And that is kind of the opposite of feeling rejected, but just try it on. It might feel so uncomfortable and so itchy as a sweater. But over the years, I've learned to just say to myself, people are really going to like me. Like people are really going to like having a conversation with me. Now, I know there's like tens of thousands of people listening to this podcast right now and probably thinking, Colin, you are so weird. Like this is this is not a normal thing to do. But I just want you to humor me for a minute here, and I want you to try that on. Try that on this belief of just say to yourself, people are going to like me. People are going to enjoy having a conversation with me. Now, I'm not saying they're going to like you because you are amazing. They're just going to like you because you're interested in them, right? This is the secret as well. And it's this idea of really leaning into your curiosity when you're having conversations with people. And number three is that I have a belief that I'm going to meet someone at every event and something good will come of it. I genuinely believe that. When I go into every event, I'm thinking, I reckon there's going to be one or two people that I'll meet, something will come of it. I remember I've attended quite a few events down in Newport Beach in California. And I became a part of this essentially it's a magazine. It's called Nobleman. It's like a high-end luxury magazine. And when I first saw this magazine, beautiful magazine, it's produced by one of the Real Housewives actually, and beautiful magazine. And I saw it and I was like, I need to write for this magazine. Now I know that the magazine is not my target audience, but I was like, I just want to write for this magazine because I think it's just a beautiful, beautiful piece of material. And so, long story short, I remember I remember I wrote an email to the editor and I said, hey, would you mind if I write an article for the magazine? And the editor and the owner actually wrote back. His name's Doug. And he wrote back and he was like, hey, that sounds great, Colin. Like, tell me more about yourself. We had a conversation over email and then it kind of died out. I set the intention of that I'm going to write for this magazine. By the way, there's so much more power of this. Is like just setting that intention. I was like, I'm going to write for this magazine. And I remember pulling into a cafe, and as I'm driving down the road, this silver Aston Martin pulls in front of me and is driving down the road in front of me. And on the back of it, it's got a number plate and it says Nobleman. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that is the editor of Nobleman. And they pull in, he gets out of the car and we see each other. And there was a photo of me in the email, like as part of one of the sign-offs. And he looks at me and he's like, I know you, right? And I was like, yeah, my name's Colin. And then Doug, we got to know each other. We ended up having coffee. I ended up writing for the magazine for a number of years. And as part of the magazine, there was a lot of events, like networking events. Now, they love the events, like the Rolls Royce and the Aston Martin. And I'm not going to lie, I don't mind going to some of those events. They're really they're interesting. I love all the hors d'oeuvres and the drinks and all that sort of stuff. But I remember going there and like, they're not necessarily my target audience, right? They're not the people that I'm looking to work with. But I was just like, it'd be interesting to go along. I ended up meeting a guy, runs a really successful financial services company, very, very wealthy in the area. We just got chatting. I tell him I teach people to sell from stage, right? That's what I tell them. And he's like, sell from stage. And he goes, oh my gosh, I'm doing some presentations coming up. Could we have a conversation? he ends up working with me, and I end up earning a lot of money from working with this guy. He ends up doing some presentations for his business and then for his charity. We end up building a great relationship, but it all started from this belief. First of all, I had an intention that I hung on to, I didn't let go. But second of all, started from this belief that I'm going to meet someone here that is going to be useful, that is going to be enjoyable, that is going to be great as a part of a relationship. Something good is going to come of it. That's one of my beliefs. So first of all, prepare your mind. Play with that. Try that on as a sweater. The belief that people are going to enjoy having a conversation with me, right? Even if it feels a little bit awkward, just try it on. The second one is that they're going to actually like me. Like people will like me. And then third of all, is that something good will come of this. If you have those three beliefs coming into an event, coming into a networking event, a program, a workshop you're going into, I know that something great is going to come of it. Number two is when you go into the event, stand up straight and take up space. When you physically are crouched down, when your shoulders are bent over, as opposed to actually holding your shoulders back, standing up straight, taking up more space, there is scientifically proven from lots of studies around human behavior that if you take up more space, you will be seen as being confident and more attractive. Now, I'm not talking about like a weird scene of like walking in, holding your chest out, wobbling your butt. I'm talking, you see the picture, right? I'm talking about just taking up that little bit more space, like holding your shoulders back, standing up straight, just really engaging your body from a certainty perspective. This is what's really interesting. When you do that, first of all, physically, you become more attractive because you stand up straight and there is something wired in us, in our neurology, that finds that attractive in other human beings. Like think about someone walking down the street with a hunchback, right? Or someone walking down the street, shoulders back, walking strong. Which image is more attractive, right? Walking strong. That's because intuitively, we are naturally attracted to people who represent success, safety, and certainty. And so if you physically do that, that's just a physical thing that actually affects also your neurology. So when you physically stand up straight, you hold your shoulders back, chin up, right? And you just walk in and you physically hold your body straight. When you're standing, having a conversation with people, rather than having your legs crossed, which represents uncertainty because it's asymmetrical, have your feet flat, kind of shoulder width apart, stand up straight. You can stand, you could have like kind of the thinker position if you're watching the YouTube. By the way, this is on YouTube as well because we post on YouTube and I do other videos on YouTube. So if you haven't checked out my YouTube channel, make sure to go and check that out. Just go to Colin Boyd on YouTube, search it. You'll see it, my little channel. But you could do the thinker, right? Where you've got one hand on your chin, one hand across your body and just kind of comfortable, but you want to have symmetrical legs. You want to have your legs straight. Try that on. That's really interesting. Now, what tends to happen is if you look successful, like you're dressed well, you're standing straight, you've got a sense of physical confidence about yourself. When someone meets you and you end up being humble, curious, fascinated with them and having a conversation, that is when you become incredibly magnetic. Because have you ever had a conversation with someone where you went to go and meet them and you were a little bit nervous, like you were scared, you saw them and you were thinking, oh my gosh, they seem kind of scary. And then you meet them and they're lovely. Wouldn't you agree that you tell someone, oh my gosh, I was really scared to have that conversation. And then I did it, I had the conversation and they were just lovely. I didn't expect them to be so nice, right? If that's ever happened to you, that is the power of magnetism. Magnetism is where you combine the humility with the invincibility. You combine that confidence with that sense of curiosity. And when you get that combination together, you get charisma. And so that is why when you end up being a nice person, which I know you are, that is why you become more attractive because you combine the two. That's the second strategy. The third strategy, connect with people's eyes and look into people's eyes. Now, not in a really, really weird way, but the power of people's eyes and looking into people's eyes is unforgettable. In fact, if you use your eyes and literally hold on with your stare, and don't stare at people, but I mean like locking eyes with that person for like, I don't know, it's like milliseconds. It's such a small distinction. You hold on to that, locking their eye with another person's eyes for, let's say, normally you do it for 1 second, but you hold it for 1.5 seconds. There is something that exudes confidence when you do that. There's something that exudes care when you do that. And I know for me, when I was learning to be trained as a coach, one of the things I learned was to never look away from your client. Like you are fully locked in, fascinated with your client. Now, I will say that in a normal conversation, that is weird, right? That do not do that. That's weird. But in a coaching conversation, it's very powerful because people completely feel that attention on themselves. But what I recommend you to do is notice the power of your eyes. When you see someone, you connect with someone, hold that locking in with their eyes, just that couple of milliseconds longer, like half a second longer. And that will build an emotional resonance with the other person. It shows that you're connected to them and it makes them feel seen, right? And so that is something that is really interesting. Now, I will say with looking at people's eyes, some people have a rule in their mind where it's look away to talk. Some people have a rule in their mind where it's look into your eyes to talk. And that's why, have you ever had a conversation with someone and they don't look away? They know it's really weird, right? It feels really weird because they actually have a rule in their mind of when I'm talking, I'm actually looking into your eyes. As a generalization, there needs to be a cyclical pattern that is useful. So you look into people's eyes, have the conversation or share what you're going to say, and then you look away for a second and then you look back at them. So it's like you look away for a second and it almost like is a breather, and then you look back at them, connect with their eyes. Now, what you need to be cautious of is when you're listening to someone, don't look away and kind of like look at something else. One thing you can do is you can kind of look down a bit and introspective and then look back up at them. That makes them feel like you're not looking away trying to find someone more interesting. Remember, we all have this fear of not being interesting. So if you're listening to someone and you're looking away, looking at something else, it triggers the fear in someone of not being interesting or not being seen as successful or attractive or whatever it is. And so you can look down and be introspective and then look up. But usually when you're listening, you can have a longer pattern of eye contact than when you're talking. So when you're talking, you're going to jump in between, looking away, looking at the person, looking away, looking at the person. But you're only going to look away for for a very short second. But usually that happens as a generalization. That is a nice human behavior pattern. You look away for a bit, look to talk, look away. And you'll notice that some people have a really strong look away to talk. Like you'll be talking with them and they're looking away while they're talking the whole time. That is not a great pattern. It's just a pattern that doesn't create engagement and connection, right? And so you need to be able to go in between. So really what I'm saying is just find the balance. Look away for a bit, connect with their eyes. But when you first meet with someone, connect with their eyes just that half a second longer. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. The next strategy I want you to think about with having great conversations is what I call pace, lead. Pace, lead. Pace, lead is where you don't get too intrusive with your conversation too early. You don't get too intrusive with your conversation too early. You actually ask questions that are safe, that are within their knowledge range, that are within the space for them of feeling like you're not trying to push them or stretch them to actually do something they feel uncomfortable about. Does that make sense? Now, what I'm going to do is, because we've been going for a little while now, I'm going to press pause because I wanted to make this a 2-part series. So in the next episode, I'm going to give you a whole bunch of questions that you can ask people at a networking event that will help you to pace them and then to lead them, to pace, like pacing questions and leading questions. So let's review what we've gone past so far. We've talked about the 3 big fears: the fear of rejection, the fear of not belonging, the fear of not looking successful or being interesting, right? Then we talked about preparing the mind. I want you to try on some of those beliefs, because we've already gone pretty deep into this stuff already. Try on some of those beliefs of, what if people actually like me, right? Try on the belief of, people are going to like me. People are going to enjoy a conversation with me because I'm interested in them, by the way, not just because you're interesting, right? And a belief that something good will come of it. Stand up straight physically when you go to have a conversation with someone. Don't be asymmetrical. Don't lean over. Don't be hunchback. Hold your shoulders back. Look in their eyes. Stand up straight. Connect with their eyes. Connect with their eyes just that little bit longer. When you meet someone, we're going to be pacing them, not leading them. We're not going to be doing 2 extreme things right away. We're just going to be pacing their process. So first of all, if you've found this interesting and you want me to do more podcasts on the idea of just having conversations, send me a DM in Instagram and just say, hey, Colin, really enjoyed so far what you've talked about with this idea of just how to have a conversation with people. I want to hear the pacing. I want to hear the leading questions. I've got some more things around curiosity. I've got some more things around how to answer questions properly and not be that really annoying person, right, who just talks forever. I've got some really cool strategies on how to do that. That's what I'm going to do in episode 2. So if you've liked this, come back for episode 2. That's going to be dropping next week. And so I trust this has been valuable. I'm going to leave this as a bit of a cliffhanger because we're going to go deep into this next week. Send me a DM on Instagram, just at Colin Boyd, if you've enjoyed this conversation about having conversations. And I'm looking forward to bringing you episode 2, where we're going to close this loop of how to have confident conversations with people. Make sure you are following the show. Make sure you are a part of it. Check out our YouTube. We've got lots of really cool new YouTube clips on my YouTube. And the link will be in the show notes. And if you haven't yet been a part of our conversion story formula, what are you doing? You're living under a rock. Go and check out conversionstoryformula.com. It's our initial experience that people have on how to tell great stories. And I will say, stories are a great way of having conversations, knowing how to tell a great story. You'll learn how to tell great stories and also stories that convert. So if you haven't checked that out, definitely check out conversionstoryformula.com. And I'm excited to keep having this conversation about conversations. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.